Hello and welcome to The Ticket, the podcast where we explore the cutting edge of customer service and support. I'm Ruth O'Brien, Senior Director of Automated and Proactive Support here at Intercom. In today's fast-changing business landscape, customer expectations are shifting faster than ever before, particularly with the rise of AI technologies. As companies strive to stay ahead, the importance of customer experience has never been more critical. In this episode of The Ticket, we're diving into the new rules for building a business around today's customer. Joining us is Blake Morgan, a renowned customer experience futurist and the author of the new book, The 8 Laws of Customer-Focused Leadership, New Rules for Building a Business Around Today's Customer. Blake has been called the Queen of CX by Meta and has worked with some of the biggest names in the industry, including Coca-Cola and AT&T. Today, she'll share her insights on how leaders can transform their organizations by putting the customer at the center of everything they do. Blake, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Ruth. It's so good to be here with you. And I'm so excited that I'm speaking to someone in Ireland right now. Is that where you are?
Yes, in Dublin.
Oh, it's awesome.
Where are you located yourself?
I'm in Los Angeles, so it's probably very late for you and it's still early-ish for me.
Yeah, but we'll still make it work today. The beauty of the internet, right? So your new book, The 8 Laws of Customer-Focused Leadership, emphasizes the importance of a customer experience mindset. Can you share what inspired you to define these specific 8 laws and how they evolved from your research and interviews with industry leaders, especially in the context of the growing influence of AI in customer interactions?
I was recently giving a workshop at a telecom company here in the States in Texas, and one of the executives asked me if I thought that customer centricity could be basically built from the ground up. Can your frontline just decide to be customer-centric and create a whole customer-centric corporate culture? And I realized this is a big misunderstanding. Customer experience has to be an important piece of a leadership strategy, and it has to be driven by the C-level. And through decisions to invest, to reduce back-end complexity, to focus on employee experience, there we see that we can move the needle with customer experience. But it starts with that commitment from leadership. Even if you're talking about investments in the technology stack like AI or taking risks or investing in the customer relationship, these are decisions that have to be driven from the top. So I realized with my third book, there really was a need to focus on leadership and customer experience because there's many leadership books, there are many customer experience books, but there are no books about customer-focused leadership that marry the two.
Nice. Yeah, I totally agree. Like, how are people in a company, how are they going to know that they're meant to do something if they don't see their leaders speaking about it and doing that themselves, right?
Yeah, and so much of an employee's experience is outside of that employee's control. So I always talk about companies like Trader Joe's where employee experience is palpable, and that includes fair pay, medical, dental, and vision insurance, 20% off of groceries, and so much more about the work experience of being at that grocery store here in the States. And companies like this understand that there's a direct link between employee experience and customer experience.
Yeah, I completely agree. Like, we feel the same way here with our team, like, how can you expect people to, be happy and help customers if they're feeling terrible about the place that they work? So if you treat people well, they will in turn treat people like your customers well, right?
Yeah, I mean, Ruth, it sounds cheesy, but if you think about this whole idea of having a smile in your voice, you can see on the screen when I'm smiling, my voice changes. So for people that work in customer service, if they're taking calls day in and day out, incurring a lot of negativity, they don't get breaks, they're feeling stressed. The contact center world has some of the highest churn out there out of any industry. And these are the people that have the opportunity to talk to customers. So you can tell when a company runs its contact center well and treats its employees really beautifully. You can tell the difference even as a customer when you talk to the agents. They just sound happier. They're better agents.
Yeah, and they're happier to represent the company and not just, I guess, themselves, because you can be like a nice person interacting with the customer, but not love the company you work for, and that actually will shine through as well. So if they're really happy brand ambassadors for the company, you can tell the difference there too.
And you can tell when they have the freedom in their room to block and tackle for the customer. You can tell when that agent isn't being managed by average handle time. And they're really taking their time to understand the customer issue, to establish rapport, empathy. And even if it's outside of the script, to really get that problem solved for the customer. And so many companies run their contact center so dysfunctionally. Like I've had clients tell me, yes, we don't use scripts for our agents. That's a no-no. But then upon further research, looking into their scorecards, all the words and the language each agent has to hit and everything that has to be included, they basically have a script through the scorecard. So contact center leaders have to watch out for what they're measuring, what does success look like, and making sure that agents have the breathing room to treat customers like people, because the agent is being treated like a person.
Totally. I'm actually just thinking about how, you're mentioning contact centers for phone calls. And at Intercom, we work with conversations, right? So it's over a chat or a ticket. And like our version of the smile and the voice is the emojis or the GIFs or the memes that are being sent. So us allowing the team have some creativity around that, I think really makes a big difference as well. So I completely agree with what you're saying about them not being so restricted by what exactly they can and can't say in terms of expressing themselves and, bringing customers along on that far more personal journey.
I recently went down to Santa Barbara. It's about an hour from where I live in Los Angeles, and we stayed at the Hilton. And my husband got a text from the Hilton saying how would you rate your stay? How's it going? And it was signed by a person. And my husband and I kept looking at his phone, trying to figure out, is this a bot or a person? And I said, it has to be a bot. There's no way they're going to scale that personalization. But he said, no, look, it's signed with their name. And then the person responded, and it became clear it wasn't a bot. So now customers are more discerning. They know it's the wild, wild west of AI. We're all trying to figure out chatbots, and the customer's going, is this a robot? Is this a person? So if you can differentiate by really proving it's a human experience with technology, then you're ultimately going to provide a better customer experience and retain that customer for longer.
On that note, so about, you were thinking initially it was a bot. What are your thoughts on the role AI plays in helping exceed customer expectations in customer service? How do you think it can be used to enhance the customer experience without actually losing that human touch that obviously does still matter so much?
So there are a few interesting use cases of AI in customer service. Agent Assist is a big one, or Copilot, where the AI is searching through all the different offerings. Like a telecom provider in the US, I interviewed the CEO, and he was just talking about how, these young people come into these jobs, they're 23 years old. Now they're tasked with interacting with a customer. It's much easier with AI to serve up the next best action to that young and new and fresh and green employee than an employee having to look through 30, 40 different offerings for the customer. So that's one use case of Agent Assist of AI in the contact center. But AI in the contact center is also helping to do, for example, the notes. The agent used to take notes on each call. Now the AI can do these summaries of each interaction. However, something interesting I didn't know about is that sometimes agents reject the AI because basically what the AI has done is taken away the agent's break, because in the past, the agent might take 30 seconds to do a write-up of the call, but they had 2 minutes to do a write-up of the interaction. Let's say it's instant messenger. And so they were getting a little bit of a breathing room between all of their calls throughout the day. Now the AI has taken their fake break away. So it's interesting with change management of AI in the contact center. We have to be careful, even with these incredible use cases I just mentioned of Copilot or Agent Assist or these call summaries that AI can do. What are the change management aspects in the contact center of how AI is being used? Chatbots, obviously there's examples of good chatbots and bad. Air Canada had a really embarrassing public blunder where the chatbot hallucinated, gave the customer misinformation. Air Canada tried to say, oh, well, we're not accountable. You can't hold us to that promise because the chatbot promised it, and that's a third party. It's not us. Well, that's laughable that they're not taking accountability for what the chatbot said and did. If the chatbot isn't fully flushed out, if you're not 100% confident in it, don't put it on your website. And that's why it's so important to be thoughtful with these technologies, because when a technology hallucinates, it's very embarrassing and it really does hurt the customer relationship.
On that note, how do you think companies can strike that right balance between automation and AI and then the human interaction to create a seamless experience, say, between the two for a customer and really satisfying the customer?
What is always so key, Ruth, is to talk to customers, because your different customers, depending on generation, location, language, they're going to have different preferences. They might not want to talk to an agent in one scenario that there's no nuance, there's no complication. But let's say something is dealing with healthcare or taxes or finance. These are more subtle, complicated interactions that the customer probably would prefer a person. So we have to always talk to customers. And I'm a big fan of qualitative research. Go talk to customers, call customers, no matter your role in the company. Understand what they're comfortable with, what they like, what they don't like. Talk to a diverse sampling of customers. With doing that, it's also important to mystery shop your own business. So go through the whole experience yourself. Where are the gaps? Again, we can't avoid talking to customers about what their comfort level is, and that ensures that we're constantly hitting the mark by actually knowing what's happening with them.
So where do you think the humans really excel then in this world where AI can take care of, some of the stuff that humans used to do before? But where is it that you think the humans really, really need to still be present in these customer interactions?
It's interesting. When the technology started to emerge, I did more and more research. Do customers prefer humans or tech? And the research kept coming back that in the future, customers don't want more technology. They want more of the human touch, especially when, even as a customer, everyone watching this podcast or listening, the human touch does feel like rare. I mentioned Trader Joe's. It's a grocery store. There's another grocery store, I believe in Norway, in that part of the world, where they do chit chat checkout. So they did some research that their older citizens, that's the only socializing they get in their day, is going to the grocery store and talking to the checkout clerk. And so they have slow checkout where customers can come to the grocery store, they can have coffee, they can get their socializing in. So not every customer wants more technology. And increasingly, you're seeing research that people are feeling more isolated, more lonely. So having people as our greatest asset, I believe this is a huge differentiator, because we're human beings. We're wired to connect with others. And while we can solve our problems through technology, that doesn't mean we need to take people out of the equation. And with so many companies not willing to invest in great people and in giving employees time to personalize experiences for customers, to teach customers new tricks and tips, to offer something extra, because that's the only thing that differentiates a world in which all of our products and services have become commodities. It's the human touch that adds that extra element that will make customers want to come back and feel good. Like, again, Trader Joe's, every time I shop there for my groceries, the clerk will say, "Oh, you bought this turmeric spice? What are you doing with this spice? Like, how are you cooking with it? Or have any fun weekend plans?" And it's just, you just leave there in a good mood because somebody actually looked you in the eye and cared about you.
Yeah. In terms of, to go back to your comments earlier about leaders making the decision around being having customer centricity, why is that so important? Can you elaborate on the daily actions and habits leaders should cultivate to maintain that, so that the rest of the employees in the company really understand why it's important, and then they can mirror that approach consistently?
Customer experience mindset is really important, and employees can feel that from their manager. And so the manager and the leader sets the tone for the whole company. And if managers and leaders have time to coach employees, this is so special. Because today we're having a disengagement crisis where employees are just asleep at the wheel. They're not engaged in their work. And so we need managers that have time to act as coaches toward employees, to go out and meet with customers themselves, to exude the culture that they want to see in the company. Because all of the employees are watching how the leaders act and are going to mirror how they act. So that culture is contagious, and leadership has never been more critical than it is right now. But leaders have to take care of themselves so they have the energy for influencing change. So they have a smile on their voice when they talk to employees. So they have energy to go and meet with customers and do customer visits. And so leadership has to exude that customer experience mindset where they jump up out of bed in the morning excited for the challenges of the day, to be of service to others, and to really present and exude that customer experience mindset.
Totally. You're actually just reminding me of how this morning the first thing I did was talk to a customer in Sydney. So it was like quite early in my day because it was because I'm in Dublin, right? And it set me up for the day. I was like so delighted after it. It was kind of a general chat about customer support strategy, right? But I loved it. And like I loved hearing that customers sometimes challenges, but also their positive feedback around our team, our product. And I'm just so glad that was the first thing I did because it really like kind of focused me and set me up in a really positive way for the day. So I completely hear what you're saying. Okay, to change course a little bit, let's go back to this technological change that's happening right now. How can companies anticipate future customer needs while still delivering on present expectations? So what role does a customer experience futurist like yourself play in this process?
It's very important for everybody watching and listening to also be customer experience futurists themselves. And you can take this very literally. In my book, I have actual futurist frameworks where you do horizon scanning and come up with possible scenarios of what the future could look like. But honestly, a lot of leaders that I interview on the Modern Customer podcast, which is my show, they talk about how the first thing a lot of them do in the morning is they turn off their texts and all the interruptions and they just read. They learn, they see what's happening in the world. And I think that being a student and being curious about society and what's happening with people is so important. So it's not just about understanding your customers, talking to your employees. It's also just being extremely curious and being a student of the world and understanding, well, what is the next generation? How do they communicate? How do they learn? And not having the not invented here syndrome, which is when you are only interested in ideas and things that you build. We don't know what we don't know. So being 100% a student, always surrounding yourself with people that are smarter than you. If you're a leader, surrounding yourself with team members that are willing to tell you when you're wrong or question you, and they're going to teach you because they're all subject matter experts. I think this is one of the key attributes of the most modern leaders that I've met, this commitment to curiosity, to humility, and to really studying all the time.
Nice. And in terms of measuring and evaluating then, like how you're doing with, the different ways that you're approaching being customer centric, what do you think are the key components of metrics and KPIs? Like what are some of the most effective ways companies can measure the customer experience beyond the traditional customer satisfaction scores, particularly when AI-driven analytics are becoming more and more available?
Well, AI-driven analytics, I think all of that is important, but also common sense metrics like are new customers coming in through word of mouth? This is earned growth rate from Fred Reichel, the creator of Net Promoter Score. So how many of our new customers did we acquire through word of mouth, through current or past customers? You can look at sales. I mean, if sales are down, if things are going wrong, like being curious, like what's happening with customers? Like why don't we have customer retention? Why are customers buying something once and never coming back? Because obviously there's a story there. So I think Gene Bliss, fellow author and keynote speaker who started doing this way before me, always says that you should get off the spreadsheets, get your eyeballs, get your customers off your spreadsheets to understand what is actually happening with customers. Don't just sit and look at the data all day. Like be curious, find out what did we do right? Where did we go wrong? And being committed to that raw feedback, that's going to be really powerful.
Yeah, I love that as well around like committing to something like a bit different to the standard old school metrics that we've been working with all along and just like dig into it and get really curious.
Yeah, absolutely.
So lastly, with the ongoing economic instability, how can businesses keep customer experience front and center when budgets are tight and resources are stretched? What strategies have you seen work well in maintaining a customer first approach in a challenging time?
What's happening, the research shows that there was recently an article in the Wall Street Journal detailing that customer service has gotten worse again. That companies right now are making the mistake of raising prices and adding no more value. Customer experiences are actually worse and the prices are higher. Meanwhile, customer wallets are tight and their budgets are strapped. So if you want to maintain your relationship through this difficult time with your customer, when this is over, customers are going to remember how you treated them during this tough time. You have to fulfill on your base level promise. And I would make a habit of talking to customers. Where are they struggling? What do they need right now? Raising prices on customers without adding more value is a mistake. And so I think we have to find creative ways to add value. One fun workshop I did with my client, a hearing aid company in Switzerland, I did this with them in June. I had the leadership team do this exercise of, if you could not sell the product that you're actually selling, which was the hearing aid, but you could only sell the experience around the product, would that be a compelling enough offer? What would the experience be? And that's something everybody watching can workshop on their own. Like, if we could no longer sell the core product we sell, but the only experience around the product, like, what would that be? And would it be enticing or not?
Ooh, I love that. I actually think I'm going to try that with my own group this week. I actually think it's a really cool idea. All right, Blake, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Ruth. It's been fun.
The 8 Laws of Customer-Focused Leadership, New Rules for Building a Business Around Today's Customer is out now. Don't forget to subscribe to our newsletter, intercom.com/blog/newsletter, to stay updated with the latest trends in customer service and support. Make sure to check out our sister podcast, Intercom on Product, for insights into product design and development. You can find it on your preferred podcast platform or by visiting intercom.com/product podcast. You'll find all the links in the episode description. Thanks again for watching, and see you again next time on The Ticket.